Hello, my name is Bill Moberly, conducting veteran interview at the Tank Farm on the 7th of September, interviewing Mr. Robert Edwards, a Vietnam veteran. So you go by Robert or Rob or?
Rob.
Rob, okay. So Rob, tell me a little bit about where you're from and how you found yourself getting into the military.
Well, I'm from Springfield, Ohio. I was jobless, looking for a job. I couldn't find nothing else to do, so I went down to see the recruiter. I can remember his name, Sergeant White.
And what year was that?
1971.
71, okay.
And
Did you have other family members in the military? Or?
no, just a cousin I got that I met here in Virginia in a long way, but roundabout way.
So where did you go into the military? Where'd you train?
I came in, I was inducted in the military to Fort Hays out of Columbus, Ohio, shipped straight out of Fort Hays to Fort Knox, Kentucky, through the night.
And what did they, was that where you did your basic training? Or?
Yes, I did.
What other kind of training did you do?
I did basic. At the basic, they took us down to, Louisville Airport, and locked us in the terminal till our flights left for Fort Sam Houston, Texas. That was back to the Vietnam era. That was in, I guess I was told they locked us in there, keep you from going AWOL, people trying to get out, going Vietnam and stuff like that. And we stayed there all day. We graduated that afternoon, and then we stayed there. I think we left maybe about 1 o'clock in the morning. We loaded on a Flying Tiger, first flight ever.
Oh my gosh.
And flew into Fort Sam Houston, San Antonio, Texas. And when we flew in there, it was on a weekend, and they bussed us from the airport to the base out there. And when we drove to the base, I kind of got leery because it just seemed like it was deserted. Everybody was gone or something like that, and we looking around, we newbies or something like that. So we kind of tensed there a little bit. Excuse me.
So Sam Houston, that's the base where they do a lot of medical.
Yeah, medical.
What were you training for there?
A combat medic.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about that training.
Oh, well, I was shocked to get it, number one, because when I volunteered for the service, they asked me what I wanted to do, and I couldn't come up with nothing. And I was asked, would I like to be a gunner on a Huey, until they gave me the life expectancy of a gunner. And I told them, I can't say it now, but no, that wasn't the way I would want to go. So well, what do you want to do? I said, I couldn't think of nothing. I just told my mechanics. They asked me, have you ever did mechanics? I said, no, but they just put me down there. I came in, like at the time they battery 2 tests and stuff like that. And next thing I know, they sent me medical school.
How about that?
Very shocking.
How long was that training?
8 weeks.
8 weeks.
We did 8 weeks there. I left there and went to Fort Mannequin Medical Center, which is at Fort Lewis, Washington. That was my first duty station there. So I spent about 2 years there, and then I came down on levee, and I went to Okinawa for 33 months there. From Okinawa, I went back and forth, to Korea and stuff like that, and then came back, got orders cut on evacuation to Vietnam, and go to Guam and stuff, on Operation New Life, which is evacuation of Vietnam back in 1975. So I worked that, and ran out there. We had a monitor. At that particular time, I had gathered another MOS, which my primary would be 91S20, which would be preventive medicine. And I was attached with a LA team out of Fort Benning, Georgia, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I was attached to them, and we used to have to go out and do like mosquito counts, inspection of dining facilities in the field and stuff like that, and checking all the water, supplies and stuff like that. And
so with that experience under your belt domestically, you went to Guam during this exercise of...
Well, it wasn't exercise, it was the real thing.
It was the real thing, right?
Yeah. But we did that, and then after that, let's see, my next duty station was, I came back to the States at Fort Belvoir, Virginia, worked in a preventive medicine there. Then I left there and went back overseas to Korea. And after 12 months over there again, I came back and I went to Fort Meade. And then I worked at the hospital there. But it's been a joy. I can't say that I did not enjoy it. I looked at it in the sense, I had to work somewhere. And why not that? So that's what I did.
So let's go back to your Vietnam experience and talk a little bit more about that. How did you feel when you got orders to go to Vietnam theater?
Well, when I got orders cut down on there, the first time I got ordered for Vietnam, I was sitting in the bed going through some orders, and my heart dropped when I read the orders about you've been, how you say it, deleted from going the first time. I said, oh, I didn't know I was on levy. But I had the orders, and I guess it pays to read your orders.
Right. Right.
So if I had wouldn't, come down to not going or something like, I guess I would have been AWOL. But so happens they turned around and I went back, that's when I went to Okinawa and stuff like that. And then I was called, I had went home to my quarters, and I was called by the colonel to pack my duffel bag, and I thought I was in trouble. Get all my shots. We had to get all our shots and stuff, myself and a couple other individuals from the unit. And we had to pull out the next morning to the air base there and fly to Guam. And we were receiving refugees from Vietnam.
On the island of Guam.
On the island of Guam. We had to make sure that they had the shots was, they had the procedure where they had to go to sanitization as far as changing clothes and stuff there. And just watching that itself was amazing, because the little stuff that belonged to the United States military, they were carrying it. All the way to radios and stuff like that. And then we were told at the particular time if it was against the law for us to sponsor anybody that came in from there, even I don't care how much money or gold they offered us, where they had briefcase full of gold and stuff was confiscated there. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but anyway, it happened. And for a while there, I used to run the old air shot machines that we used to get, I was running that, and we worked nights, days and nights, When we get a break, you sleep anywhere, we just trained for all of it, It was very exciting, I guess.
So these people were coming in off ships or airplanes?
Yeah, well, what had happened, they came in like the USS Enterprise was out there. That's the one they pushed all the Hueys off of out there in the sea, and they contracted, I guess, shipping vessels or something through some shipping company, and they used to board them up on the ships and stuff like that, and bring them in, they offload them there, and they leave and go to Hawaii, and they clean up the ships and go back and rotate and do the same thing until they got everybody getting. We couldn't go back in there or something.
What condition were the people in that you saw coming off?
They were, how you said, scared and I guess nervous, and afraid they wasn't going to be, get away from what they were running from, in Vietnam and stuff like that. But, they act like, anything they can get their hand, they were going to take it, because they didn't know they were going to get it again. And you had to kind of talk to them and tell them, you can't have this, and stuff like that. But it was real ordeal, like it's the end of the world almost, But, coming from where they came from and what had happened, I can understand that.
Did you see the Americans come out? Were you part of that at all?
Yeah, I seen some of the Americans come out. Matter of fact, some of the camps that we had to inspect had Americans in them that went AWOL over in Vietnam. There was a lot of French babies and stuff, from the French, we had American soldiers who was, like I say, dressed like Vietnamese that had went AWOL or considered, I guess, AWOL or missing or something like that. They was in the camp. I guess they were pending whatever appropriate actions that was going to be taken or asked of them. But, I've seen that. It was all new experience. It was some things that we did talk about and we didn't talk about. And then I guess how you said, when we got time off, we just left that in the office. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
just enjoyed ourselves at this little time we did have. Go to the beaches or something over there in Guam and carry on. Watched the submariners come in and tear up the town or whatever, because I guess you stay underwater as long as they be kind of rowdy yourself. But I've seen a lot of the little stuff like that. But it was my military experience. I enjoyed it, and there's parts I didn't enjoy, But in the overall experience, if I had to do it again, I'd do it. I liked it, and I like, I grew to like the military.
How many years did you do total?
Well, I did, I was medically discharged, and I did 18 and a half years of it.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Anything else stand out in your mind about the Guam experience and dealing with these refugees? I mean, that's very stressful work, I would think.
Yeah, well, we basically tried to make the best of it. Like when we was out there, it used to be so hot. We would pray for rain. And it didn't, matter of fact, it rained for 5 minutes one time. We all just stayed out there, and walked around in the rain. But other than that, we used to go out there in the refugee camps and stuff like that. And you just, I guess how you say, you just surprised how the American government purchased all these tents and stuff from Sears and stuff, where they put them up in out there, they even had pianists and stuff who used to come out there in the camps to play for them, and stuff like that, And my experience with all that is, is I was amazed with that. You do all this, and then the upsetting part of the whole thing, this this deal was, is how the American people back in the States, because simple fact, when you're overseas, you think everybody in the States know what's going on just like you do in the overseas, but they don't. Like my mother, she didn't know half the stuff was going on over there. It was just little things like that, how people were so, I guess, how you say it, so uprighteous to want to sponsor the Vietnamese, all at the same time when we had people back in the streets that wasn't being sponsored at all. That was the upsetting part to me, is how our people, or not our people, but the people of the world, how they were over, how you say it, ain't very over anxious to sponsor, somebody they don't know, and all at the same time somebody they may know or right next to them was sleeping in the woods or something. You see what I'm saying? That's what really upsetted me about the whole thing of Vietnam. I mean, I understand you help people, but how come you can't help your own like that?
What were you concerned about in these camps from a preventative health perspective? What were you looking for and trying to head off?
Well, dysentery, any kind of diseases, foodborne diseases and stuff like that, infections and stuff, where they had, deloused a lot of the clothes or stuff that they bought in with them that had to be done and destroyed and stuff like that, where once all of them was almost gone, they had to do the same with all the tents that, and I'll just look how money was just spent on stuff, But I guess it's, it's something that we agreed to do, but my thing is, how come we can't take it home like that?
What was your homecoming like when you came back from that tour?
Well, when I homecoming, just like every day, nothing. People, a lot of it we didn't talk. I didn't say much about no how. Just that I was in the military, Well, what you do, I'm medic. That's about basically what I did, Other than that, nowadays you get more recognition for what you've done by being in service now than when I was going through. I remember sitting at the Greyhound bus station in Louisville, Kentucky, my first time going home for Christmas, and another gentleman was sitting there, and we were sitting there having a cup of coffee, talking and stuff like that. But he was asking me, man, what are they doing? Are you starving? Because at the particular time I had basic stuff. You had lost so much weight. My watch used to slide up and down my arm, But it's just it was an experience that I would say that a lot of young guys have to check out.
So, having served in a time of war, and you're dealing with kind of the result of that war, with these people leaving their homes, being evacuated because they're going to die under this communist regime that's coming in. How did you feel about that? Did you feel like you were doing something significant with that?
Yes, I did. I mean, you feel that what you was doing was necessary. You know what I mean? And God hopes to, I always looked at it like we got the award out of it, and ribbons and stuff. It was called Operation New Life. And my first thought was, well, maybe this will be in the history book, that the kids, get to study this and come find out they don't even hardly do history no more in school, But, I feel I served the purpose.
Well, that's why it's so important to capture your story, because
Right.
you were an eyewitness to history. I mean,
Right.
you were right there with these people coming in, which are now fully embedded in our society as citizens.
Right.
I mean, they've assimilated well into the country. And
Right.
now, these videos go to a couple different museum settings, and future generations may look at this. Is there something you would like to say to people who may see this 10, 20, 30 years from now that is the biggest lesson you learned in your service?
Well, I just want to say that I'm glad I took it up on myself to get over the fear of going in the military. I mean, I think that's one of a lot of young guys back in the day where military, they were scared of was what the repercussions from the military was going to present. And I took on myself, I guess, how would you say it, psych myself in the mind, say, well, hey, it's a job. And that's where I'm going to look at it. And that's where I took myself through it. I had to work somewhere. Why not here? And I get a lot of adrenaline from, like, when, ceremonies, when we had to put our Class A's on and we participate and stuff. It was very meaningful to me. I respected the uniform. I felt good about what I was doing and how I looked. To this day, like, I can look at a movie or something of that sort, and I can feel that same adrenaline coming back. I know I can't do it again, but I wouldn't shy away from it.
Well, you've done more than a good percentage of this country by serving, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like everybody, I could say, during the Vietnam era, a lot of people say that we wasn't giving our dues, and with regards to that, I still have no shame for what I've done and where I've been. And like I say, I would do it again.
Well put.
Yeah.
So, did you use any of your military training after you left the service?
Well, no, never. I went into the post office, and I took up another part of a area in my life.
Part of service.
Yeah, so I stayed there. I retired from there, and here I am, just loafing.
You've earned it. You've
Yeah.
earned it. Anything else you'd like to say about your service or your experience? Anything stand out, funny, or?
Well, yeah. Well, our funny parts were when not say funny, but we got the chance to play ball and stuff in the Army. Like contact sports and stuff. I played a lot of football in there. But now I guess I'm paying for it. I done had a lot of joints replaced, so they're trying to rebuild me now. But other than that, I would really say we had a lot of things we did. We took and made fun with it, made the best of it, what we did. The people, and one of the best things I think of this whole thing was in the military is meeting different people from different areas, different states. Because before that, I came in the military, living in Ohio, I think, you think everybody's just like you and do the same thing which is not true. And to me, it was a heck of an experience and a heck of a ride, you know, because I met people from different countries, different states. I like different cultures, you know, like the Oriental. I was very infatuated with that, you know, because it was something new, you know. It wasn't, you know, getting up just going to work or nothing like that. But, yeah, I mean, you know, different people, how people live, you know. And no one person lives the same. Everybody's different. And that, to me, was a nice thing about the military, is who you got to meet, where they were from, what they thought about things, and what you thought about things. You could kind of weigh it out and say, well, you know, you not on the same, may not be on the same wavelength, but in the same token, they think like you and do the things you do, but in a different way, which is very remarkable. And like, you know, I met some real fine people, you know.
Stay in touch with any of the people you served with?
We used to. We had, when we was in Okinawa, we had started some little club. Well, not a club, but a little, just got together and just once a month we used to have like a little disco or a dance at the rec center or something like that. And that's where all of us were take up a collection, and, you know, you buy your little alcohol, barbecue and stuff like that, and just party all night long, you know. You know, we used to have a lot of fun. One of the things when I went to Okinawa was, you know, I shipped my automobile over there. In the meantime, I bought me old, I think it was a 54 Ford, and driving it in Okinawa, no power steering. I used to buy a lot of Reynolds wrap to keep the exhaust quiet. And, you know, you keep 2 or 3 rows of it in a car, you know, and then once it dries out and burns through, you gotta get out and rewrap it, and then you go out there and turn up the old voltage regulator. And I sold that car to a Marine. He shipped it back to the States. But I remember we went to trying to park it in, you know, the steering wheel looked like a wheel. That's how big it was. And trying to go into one of them drive-in restaurants like we had the A&W in Okinawa, which Okinawa is a small place. We had a lot of fun with that old car, though. And I had a partner over there named Frank Rivers, little bitty dude. And the wheel was bigger than he was. He out there going around. But, and that was a good experience. We used to, with Typhoon, we used to have Typhoon parties over there.
Was that right?
Yeah, you know, everybody, when the Typhoon would start going in the warning, everybody would, you know, prepare meals and different aspects of a meal, and we all grab each other's shirt tail and go from one house to the next through the Typhoon and stuff like that, you know. And then sometime we had to go up to man the offices and stuff like that, make sure they didn't flood with the sand bags and stuff like that. But that was a good experience. My worst experience is sitting in the weeds doing a mosquito count. Where for preventive measures, they had to, we take test tubes and stuff, and they had some type of chemical in it that would kill them, so we can collect them and take them back and analyze them. And I was the only one being bit. And we used to have to do this every night, and I was getting tore up every night, you know. I said, man, this something got to give. And everybody used to love me, take my shirt off and let me get bit, you know, while they collect it, and they take their time collecting them, you know. We used to say a few words. But other than that, you know, we, like I said, we made the best out of all of it, you know. You know, we had our ups and we had our downs. And basically, most of them was up.
That's awesome. You
know, and I look at, you know, to this day, I look back at, I think about a lot of stuff, you know, and look at it. And a lot of it, Some of it maybe I would change, but most of the majority of it I wouldn't. You know, I had what you call my memories of the military, you know, and I had my bad times and I had my good times. It's just life, you know. But, you know, I just look at it now as the stuff we're going through now, is it worth it? You know, I mean, you know, it kind of make you wonder, you know, is it worth with some of these people? You know, I look at it, you know, I feel bad to the extent when I see a comrade that's missing a limb, that's messed up from something that could have been avoided. You know, I wouldn't say, is it a lack of training, or is it because nobody cares, or what? You know that hurts me when I see a disabled vet. You know, I'm disabled in my own way, but I'm more fortunate than they are. I still have my limbs. You know.
It certainly is a sacrifice in the
It
military.
is. It really is, and some make bigger sacrifices than others. And I guess to that extent, you know, when I took over a section in preventive medicine in Korea, I had assigned for equipment in TONE, my TONE room. You know, tactical, you know, all your field equipment. And when I had to sign for it, what really made me stop and think when I had to sign for body bags and toe tags. You know, it brings you back to reality, what you're doing. You know, just like in Korea, you know, I worked for the division surgeon. And when you're there up in the 2nd Division and stuff like that, versus going to Seoul, where we would call it, you know, the party land. When you go up on the DMZ and stuff like that, it makes you think. You know, you look at makes you think about what he was taught as far as the life expectancy. If you know the bloom would go up. Excuse me. I was always told when we was up here, if things was to go down over there, it'd be during your winter months when DMZ is froze. When you're riding down the road in a Jeep and you look up and see explosives, in which they have to go and change the detonators. I think, I don't know how often, but quite a few times a month. It makes you think. I flew to a radar site up on the DMZ and watched the ROK Soldier lock and load his anti-aircraft gun on our chopper one day, which didn't make me feel too daggone good. You know, my first thing, what the heck going on here? You know, he's sitting there cranking it up, and the lieutenant was flying the chopper, flew out over the DMZ, which you're not supposed to do. And they were supposed to be authorized to shoot you down. That makes you think. So I had quite a few thinking experiences in my time, you know. And that was a good one there, you know, when you sitting up there, that, you know, I told my, you know, I didn't come over here by mistake, and I don't want to leave here by a mistake. Because had left Korea once before when people got killed up on the DMZ. They had soldiers that infected and ran across the DMZ. You know, it makes you wonder why. You know, like I say, the world's filled with all kinds of people and thinks all kinds of ways. You know, but that I've seen a little bit of it. You know, and I'm pretty sure a lot of others, military people, seen quite more than I have. They experienced a lot more than I have, and my heart goes out to them. And you know, and I just thank God and the Almighty that they come back and the family would understand where they've been and what they've been through. You know, a lot of people ask, well, do you talk about this stuff? The average person that goes in the military to experience a lot of stuff does not talk about it. Matter of fact, they try to evade it or hide it. You know, not hide it, but yeah, I mean, it's something they don't really want to talk about because nobody can, you know, understand what experience each individual had. You know, everybody's scared. You know, if you're not scared, the only person ain't scared is the fool. You know, I don't care what you do. You know, it's just like when you go up across the Liberty Bridge and stuff like that, you had to stop in and pick up a load of magazines. They give you a load of magazines, okay, you go to the next checkpoint, lock and load weapons, place weapons on safety, do not fire upon. That's something to think about. And when you're riding up out there, you see all these people out in the rice paddies and stuff like that, you know, your first thing, well, what the hell? I don't know if I want to wait that long. You know, but this is what but that kind of stuff there makes you think. Lock and load weapons, place weapons on safety, do not fire upon. I heard that years ago, and I still say it the same way they say it today. And then the man renders you a salute and say, have a good day, sir. And you proceed on. You know.
Powerful experience.
Yeah, and I think about things like that. But see, a lot of people, you know, that hadn't experienced some things wouldn't understand that. They would probably laugh at it and say, man, you know. But I mean, you know, that is one of the moments of your time where they're talking about, you know, your life is in the midst of it all, you know, like you said, well, you know, you could be shot anytime. Just like right now here in the States. It was one of them things, you know. You know, drive by or something like that. But I mean, you know, when a person gives you some ammo and tell you lock and load, you know, you kind of thinking, it makes you think. If you don't think, you're a fool. You understand what I'm saying? You have to think about them things. Will I fire? Would I shoot? How would I react? You know? We've been in, you know, in billets playing cards and stuff, you know, where a lot of people come back from Vietnam, you know. If something dropped, everybody hits the ground. You know, it's just, that's the reality of it. You know, I met quite a few guys like that. You know, we just be car and something hit like back in my era when we was in there, we used to have them metal wall lockers, and if you hit them, you know the sound they make, and first thing everybody do is hit the floor or look for cover. You know, and the people that really is not involved in this kind of stuff there, you know, we look and wonder why are you doing that? You know, it's a reason. Yeah. You know, the noise, the shock, you know, brings back memories, you know. You know, it's myself, I did a lot of those crazy things, you know. I used to miss home. I used to get bored enough to take an old deuce and a half and clean it up like a car, and enter a contest and win it. I come in second in that. That was funny. I mean, we didn't have nothing to do. I slept through Thanksgiving. I mean, that's the worst time in the military, I think, especially when you're by yourself and don't have your family with you, is holidays.
Yeah.
I was back there where you used to have to go down to the Red Cross and place a call, where they used to get on this type of phone where I talked to my wife back in the States, and you used to have to say over, and then she can start talking, and she had to say over for me to respond. I was back, that was an experience in its own like that. And but like I say, the holidays was my most downing times. A lot of times I used to try to sleep through them. I stay in the billets in the bed. It'd be cold anyway, so you go up to the mess facility, they having Thanksgiving. I can do without. I figure, I rather time goes by when you are busy doing something. Idle hands.
Right.
When you sit around and don't have nothing to do, time just drags out. And it did on holidays. So I guess we took a lot of happy hour.
Yeah.
Like I used to, go out, have me a beer or two or something, go down to the club or something like that, have me a fish sandwich or beer or something like that. But like I said, the worst part of, I think, everybody's military experience is a holiday without family.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I mean, it makes you think. It gives you a lot of time to think.
Right.
I've seen soldiers that take leave and come back doing, while from overseas, that do crazy things to keep them come back. We had a cook that shot herself in the foot to keep him coming back. At the foothill, they sent him back anyway. So but people, like, if I guess it gets very depressing then at that time, yeah. But then when the work day, hump day comes, it's all behind you. So you go to the next time you get off or something like that, and just have to keep yourself occupied. You have to keep yourself doing something, because when you sit around and don't do anything, that's when you find yourself getting in trouble. I enjoyed when we used to go Team Spirit, which is with the stuff they do in Korea, the war games. We used to have a lot of fun there, but a lot of people got killed in that. And these are war games, I remember when they introduced the Gamma Goat to the military. That was a mess. That was out of Fort Lewis, Washington. General Westmoreland was there then. All of them sunk. But other than that, it was a trying experience, And qualifying, you had to qualify once a year. Physical fitness every year, you had to do. But I guess I looked at my life in the military was a great experience.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your service. Really
And I
appreciate
appreciate you.
hearing your story. It's an important one to capture.
Right.
A piece of history.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate
Well,
it.